Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Sophia Torini. She is a transformative practitioner with a unique blend of skills from being a certified clinical EFT practitioner to training in meta consciousness. Her background in public health, epidemiology, and network engineering adds a distinctive insight into her approach. Welcome to the show,
Thank
Sophia.
you very much. It's an honor for me being here.
You are welcome to the show, Sophia. You are welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk about self-awareness and self-care. But before that, we'll try and understand more about you, Sophia. So tell us a bit about your own journey, especially, how you battle with chronic disease yourself, and then you found a way out of it with your own efforts.
Okay, so I grew up like everybody else, trying to focus on a career and move on with life. Not always being happy, but always thinking if I get one more degree, if I do one more thing, if I get a different job, I would be happy. And along the way, some challenges happened, and I ended up getting sick and being hospitalized for 23 days with no expectation at the time to live. And it was very difficult for me because I was previously well. So whatever happened like overnight. And since my background was in healthcare, I tried all the medical traditional approaches and it wasn't working. So 14 years go by and I'm still ill with no explanation what caused the condition and why did it happen overnight. And I ended up finding various teachings, and the ones that were the most helpful for me, or I was ready to hear, I should say, was the teachings of Dr. Joe Dispenza, basically how the brain and our emotions create the reality that we're in. And I started realizing that if our thoughts can make us sick, our thoughts then can make us well. So I worked on that, but the challenge I encountered was I couldn't sustain positive thoughts because I had a lot of negative emotions and it was a bottomless pit of negative emotion. So EFT with those teachings turned my life around. So I ended up after 18 months getting off all my meds and not having this debilitating condition that I had for at least a little over 14 years at the time. And it took me, once I had worked with myself long enough, it took me 3 weeks to say, I'm done with the meds and to let go of the fear of not taking those meds. And then my life changed and I decided I no longer can work in healthcare. I wouldn't be serving the people if I believe that's the only model that heals.
Right, Sophia. So, in a way, your brain, your own thoughts can create something positive for you, which can, take care of your uh, illnesses, your chronic problems. I want to understand it a bit more, much more in detail. What does it mean? Means you have to think positive. Negative thoughts will be a part of us. And
Uh,
how does it work actually?
well, let me address first what disease is. So, disease is a lowering of frequency in the body. We are energy beings. We have a body which is physical, but in reality, we're energy beings. And everything around us is a projection of our thoughts and our emotions. And the body is a projection of the mind. So when there's not proper energy flow in the body, because the body is a battery and around it has an electromagnetic field, the body, the communication within the cells and the various functions in the body are going to deteriorate, which as a result going to cause disease. So let's see now how we can heal. So our thoughts produce chemistry inside the body. So negative thoughts usually activate the sympathetic nervous system. During the activation of the sympathetic nervous system, there's no healing and repair that can take place in the body. Our job here is to release those negative beliefs, low frequency emotions, and have positive thoughts, but feel and be in a positive state. So it's thoughts with emotions together. You have to be from thinking to doing and to being. So you have to be in a state of being positive and believe that you can heal. So by itself, positive thoughts won't cut it. I just wanted to be clear on that because they won't pass your brainstem. You can receive information equal to your current emotional state. So if I am terrified that I'll never get well, because that's what the doctors told me, or this condition or cancer is incurable, no positive affirmation is really going to land by itself. So the fear, the negative thinking, but all the pain and suffering and the emotional challenges need to be cleared. Now the affirmation can work.
Okay, okay, well explained. So, how did it work for you? You said you could not hold on to a positive thought for long. So, as humans, negative thoughts will, continue to come in our mind, except that it should not be a pattern. Help us understand then how do you, create that situation when it comes to that affirmation level.
So the first thing I used was tapping. So it's called emotional freedom techniques. And it's an energy modality that we tap on the body's various meridian points to restore the energy flow in the body. What I'd like to say about tapping, it actually resets the amygdala and the memories in the brain. So when we tap, the body self-regulates. You'll end up feeling calmer, which is crucial if you're having a lot of fear. And it brings you to its best ability to the present moment. So while I was tapping, I was releasing a lot of my fears. And then my thinking started to change with the studying as well. Well, if other people can heal, maybe I can heal. So with a combination of tapping, meditation, and envisioning myself healthy, I eventually ended up being well, which is what I wanted. And my mood changed. I have to admit, the two main emotions that I was experiencing on a regular basis, well, actually, there were three. It was anxiety, fear, and anger. Because I had been sick for so long, all I could see is worse health.
Right, right, Sophia. So when you talk of say tapping, now apart from a couple of places or few more places, our whole body moves all the time. So how is that tapping different than the movement of the body? That is also flow of energy. So I want to understand
Yes.
from
So
that point of
the
view.
tapping activates the body's meridian, similar to the acupuncture points. So tapping is the equivalent of having acupuncture without the needles. And by using certain statements, we engage the mind to release the story that we have. So, but we're doing it consciously. When you're walking, you're not thinking what you're going to heal inside your body. I mean, some people may do it when they're doing a meditative walk. So we want to release the areas where we feel, because the person tunes into the body and says, I have a knot in my stomach. So we start working, and eventually the energy finds a way to flow. And in the body, everything's connected. And with your background, you know that the energy centers, the chakras, each one corresponds to a hormonal center. So by releasing the energy that's been stuck there, those centers start working well. And then the body starts working well because now they're going to produce the proper hormones.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I want to understand this, emotional freedom technique. What is this? Is it the same? Help us understand from a common person's perspective, which you call as EFT.
Yes. So it was created years ago by a person called Gary Craig. And what they found was by using certain sentences and acknowledging what the person was feeling, and then adding something, a positive statement to neutralize it at the end. And by tapping on these various meridian points, there's several. I mean, they're very easy, but there's several. Then the energy started flowing. And what the research indicated, because there's over 300 studies at this point, and an fMRI, which is a functional MRI of the brain, indicates that it resets the amygdala that holds a lot of fear, and certain memories in the hippocampus. Because when the person is in a loop, all they think is that negative image. The world is going to end. I'll never heal. I won't be able to make it. And we have found now, by combining those two things, those two areas in the brain get reset. And now the person can see, well, you know what? Maybe if I eat healthy, maybe if I do this, maybe if I ground, or maybe if I feel more positive, I'm going to heal. So the individual gets empowered. The thing I like about tapping versus other modalities, the person can be taught to do it by themselves. And so they can go back home and do it by themselves. And your topic was self-awareness and self-care. So we want the person to do self-care versus being dependent, whether it's an institution or an individual, because now they're more in control and they'll feel happier about their lives.
Right, right. So, Sophia, how does one, calibrate between what is possible through self-care, self-comprehension, and what is the time when needs to, to actually seek medical help? Because that is also a practicality of life. In some cases, we know we have got hurt, so we need to go at that point in time. But then there can be a borderline cases where, you actually need that real, in terms of what people call is the modern medicine. So how do you tell those people how long, till what point they can look at the self-care part of it, or self-awareness, and then move on to the medical system?
That's a great question, actually, and I'm glad you asked that. So if I were to break my leg, I would definitely go to the hospital. I would tap for the pain, but I would still go to the hospital. Tapping is not going to put my leg back together. I have a gunshot wound, I will go to the hospital. So the hospital is great for certain traumas that need immediate care. Now, if you're being challenged with a chronic condition, and in my case, a chronic incurable condition, and I had exhausted healthcare, literally, I got the best healthcare because I was in the system and it wasn't working. What I did, because in the beginning I had my own fears, I added it together with my existing treatment. And eventually I weaned off. So my recommendation to someone would be to not, first of all, I'm not a doctor, just to be clear, but from my own personal experience, is they added to their existing treatment protocol. So they're going to feel better, and they will figure out their own options, and then they will know when they need to wean off, because the body is going to tell them in return, I don't need this anymore. I mean, I took medication for anxiety. I haven't touched anything for anxiety in years now.
Absolutely. Well explained, Sophia. Now, what was your people's experience, or now also do they ask that you were in public health and now you are talking about a different system of, curing illnesses or looking at, self-care? How does it work? Do they ask you questions about that system or this sort of a thing, and one more curiosity sets in for them?
So some people have the curiosity to know if, why did I shift and what were the benefits of healthcare? But there are other people who are not very open. What I try to explain in the best of my ability, we're not just the body. We're mind, body, spirit. We have three bodies. Technically, we have more, but for our purposes, we have three. And we need to heal all bodies together. So the person who only knows the medical model, they believe that's the solution. But in reality, once you see how many people have healed, because it's not just EFT, they heal. Some people heal with breath work, some people heal with something else. There's a common denominator in both. They have combined their thoughts, emotions, and the three bodies together, and that's when they heal. Now, something that we do get from meta consciousness, which you didn't ask, but I'll bring up, is meta consciousness explains certain conditions. For example, the Chinese and I think the Hindu people knew that each organ holds an emotion. For example, the liver holds anger, the heart holds a heartbreak, the kidneys hold fear, and for example, pneumonia would be the feeling of powerlessness. So getting this information that came from a model called German New Medicine, now it's called meta consciousness, and EFT, I think the person who has an open mind will inquire and benefit. But I'm not sure I answered your question directly.
No, you did. You have, as I said, these are different things that we are talking about. These are difficult things, and the whole idea is to understand. And there is nothing wrong in trying and using the power of our minds, our bodies, because even science knows about illnesses in its way that they discover it. Even the medicines that we have today, we know this is working for one thing. After several years, we come to know it also works for something else. And that's the way. Even in COVID, we tried with other medicines and see if they will be much more helpful in different, because that's the way it works. So you grow, and as we will continue to know ourselves, we might be understanding about our, because in the Indian system also we have grown up with this sort of things, and it is heartening to see that a lot of people are reading more about this, and not just in the Indian system, so many other cultures, they talk about these things, and no harm in looking at those things that are the wisdom that humanity has, and see if it can be used in tandem with whatever modern system of medicines or cure that we have. And why to look at it in isolation? Why not we use it in togetherness? And it is sometimes difficult to see it, especially when you are suffering from something, or it takes a lot of time to understand even yourself in terms of body, mind, and spirit. And that is where the difficult part is to get started. So how do you get people started when they have got several questions, or how does it work when it comes?
Well, usually I like to offer individuals a free 20-minute or half-hour consultation, a complimentary consultation. So they'll get some information about what EFT is and the science behind it, tell them what it is, and then find out if they're a good match for it. And assuming the person is a good match and they're open, I'm going to meet them where they are. What I realize, if the person is willing to feel and surrender and just accept where they are, acknowledge, I should say, where they're at, they move in through the process very fast, and their own self-awareness kicks in and hope kicks in. If the person is not open, then, or it'll take much longer. But eventually EFT again will help. It'll just take a longer time. And I think knowledge is the precursor to experience. This is a quote that Dr. Dispenza uses. And the more knowledge the person has, they'll find more solutions for themselves. So knowledge is absolutely essential for them, both for their healing, because research indicates once they know how it works and why it works, it will work better for them. So if I give you a pill and I say, take it, and this is going to heal you, it may not work as well. But if I explain how it's going to work and why it will work, now it's going to work for you. And of course, then we also have the placebo effect that we know from clinical trials. So at least the 30%, if the person is believing in it, automatically they'll get the benefit. Now, if you add knowledge with it, you'll get a higher percentage that they're going to heal. But regardless if they're a believer or not, every client that does EFT always feels better at the end of the session.
Absolutely, Sophia. Well explained. The placebo effect is actually very much of a scientific understanding. People understand it. If you believe that it's working, it will work. And it's all about the power of the mind. The whole idea is to understand that power and use it to improve yourself. There is so much to understand about these things. There is so much to learn. And I'm sure a lot of people would like to get your services. So what is the best way for them to connect with you?
Oh, I'd be honored if they come to my website, tapintoyourbestself.com, and they can click for a complimentary consultation. I have a lot of articles and research, and I have an ebook, and whatever it is, or they can just go to the contact page if they don't want the complimentary consultation, and they can reach out to me, and I'll reach out to them right away.
Wonderful, wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure being here. And I'd like to leave a message for the audience. Everything is possible. When we have an open mind, we can create everything we want. And I hope they can, you are able to see that. And I'm going to be of service to you. Thank you.
Absolutely.